ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 28. King Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. So, yesterday we completed the chapter. Is there any comment discussion? Else we'll go to the next chapter. So, one thing is, this section is very heavily, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam itself is very heavy on renunciation, and especially this section and Puranjan, because the purpose is to retire Prachina Parishad, right? That is the purpose. So that's why it is little heavy with renunciation. Yeah. So any point, any discussion? So we will begin with the next chapter. Chapter 28, Puranjan becomes woman in the next life. Narada Uvacha Sainika Bhayanamno Ye Barhimashman Drishtakariणः प्रज्वारकालकन्याभ्यां विचेरुर avanim imam. Translation.
The great sage Narad continued, My dear King Prachin Barishad, afterward the king of the Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajwara, Kalakanya and his soldiers began to travel all over the world. Purport. The period of life just prior to death is certainly very dangerous because usually at this time people are attacked by the weakness of old age as well as many kinds of diseases. The diseases that attack the body are compared here to soldiers. These soldiers are not ordinary soldiers, for they are guided by the king of the Yavanas, who acts as their commander in chief. The word Dishtakarinaha indicates that he is their commander. When a man is young, he does not care for old age, but enjoys sensual life to the best of his satisfaction, not knowing that at the end of his life his sensual indulgence will bring on various diseases which so much disturb the body that one will pray for immediate death. The more one enjoys sensual life during youth, the more he suffers in old age. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So now Kalakanya, that is Jara, along with Prajvara and Yavaneshwara, along with the soldiers, they attacked the body all over the world. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the soldiers here are the diseases which accompany the body during the old age. Right. And Srila Prabhupada writes, especially the one enjoys excessively in the young age, to that degree one will suffer in the old age. Text 2. त एकदा तु रमसा पुरञ्जनपुरीन्द्रपः रुरुधुर्भौमभोगाढ्यां जरत्पन्नगपालिताम्. Translation.
Translation: Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjana with great force. Although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. Purport: As one's body engages in sense gratification, it becomes weaker and weaker daily. Finally, the vital force becomes so weak that it is herein compared to a weak serpent. The life air has already been compared to the serpent. When the vital force within the body becomes weak, the body itself also becomes weak. At such a time, the death symptoms, that is, the dangerous soldiers of death's superintendent Yamaraja, begin to attack very severely. According to the Vedic system, before coming to such a stage, one should leave home and take sannyasa to preach the message of God for the duration of life. However, if one sits at home and is served by his beloved wife and children, he certainly becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification. When death finally comes, one leaves the body devoid of spiritual assets. At the present time, even the oldest man in the family does not leave home, being attracted by wife, children, money, opulence, dwelling, etc. Thus, at the end of life, one worries about how his wife will be protected and how she will manage the great family responsibilities. In this way, a man usually thinks of his wife before death. According to Bhagavad Gita 8.6, Prabhuji, could you please
यं
read?
यं वापि स्मरन् भवं त्यजति अन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः.
Thank you. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, the state he will attain without fail. That state he will attain without fail. At the end of life, a person thinks of what he has done throughout his whole life, thus he gets another body, Dehantara, according to his thoughts and desires at the end of life. One overly addicted to life at home naturally thinks of his beloved wife at the end of life. Consequently, in the next life, he gets the body of a woman and he also acquires the results of his pious or impious activities. In this chapter, the acceptance of a woman's body by King Puranjana will be thoroughly explained. Hare Krishna.
So here, attacked the city, the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjan with great force. The city was filled with paraphernalia, but it was weakened due to weak serpent which was protecting the city. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there is a prana, and the prana becomes weak as one is engaging in the activities of enjoyment. To the degree we indulge in sense gratification, to that degree prana becomes weak, and thus one will be weakened. And later Prabhupada explains, and therefore there is a recommendation of sannyas and leaving one's home. Of course, we have seen sannyas is very rare in Kali Yuga, and ladies cannot take sannyas, only men can take, and that is also extremely rare. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. So, what the leaving the home literally means, leaving the attitude of proprietorship, and one should be more absorbed in the spiritual activities, right? And then there is a principle. What is the principle? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejati ante kalevaram. That at the time of death, whatever our thoughts are absorbed in, we will naturally have those thoughts at the time of death, and then we will get the similar body. And therefore, slightly controversial topic I am picking up, right? Consciously. And therefore, during the old age, it is not recommended to have too many pets around. Why? Because one will have, later we'll see a story of Jadabharata, Bharat Maharaj. So, whatever consciousness one develops or whatever attachment one develops, that kind of, the consequences will be there in the next life, according to this verse of Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhava. And this explanation is not very liked, especially in the Western world, because of the Western world has, why Western, now even the Indian world also. But this is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, and one should be, at least be slightly more careful about this particular time. Text 3. कालकन्याब्जी बुभुजे पुरञ्जनपुरं बलात् ययाति भूत्पुरुषः सद्यो निस्सारताभियात्. Translation.
Gradually, Kalkanya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjana city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes.
Prabhuji, your voice is missing. Can somebody pick up reading?
At the
Harshit Prabhu.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please.
At the fag end of life, when the invalidity of old age attacks a man, his body becomes useless for all purposes. Therefore, Vedic training dictates that when a man is in his boyhood, he should be trained in the process of brahmacharya. Prabhu, that is, should be completely engaged in the service of the Lord and should not be any way associated with women. When the boy becomes young man, he marries between the ages of 20 and 25. When he married at the right age, he can immediately beget strong and healthy sons. Now, female descendants are increasing because young men are weak sensually. A male child will be born if the husband is sensually stronger than the wife. If the female is stronger, a female child will be born. Then it is essential to practice the system of brahmacharya if one wishes to beget a male child when one is married. When one reaches the ages of 50, he should give up family life. At, at that time, one's child should be grown up so that the father can leave the family responsibilities to him. The husband and wife may then go abroad to live a retired life and travel to different places of pilgrimage. When both the husband and wife lose their attachment for family and home, the wife returns home to live under the care of her grown-up children and to remain aloof from family affairs. The husband then takes sannyas to render some service to the Supreme Person of Godhead. This is a perfect system of civilization. The human form of life is especially meant for God realization. If one is unable to take to the process of Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life, he must be trained to accept these principles at the fag end of life. Unfortunately, there is no training even in childhood, nor can one give up his family life even at the end. This is the situation with the city of Puranjana, figuratively described in these verses. Thank you.
Yeah. Gradually, Kalakanya, with the dangerous soldiers, she attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjan city. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, at the fag end of life, when the invalidity of the old age attacks a man, his body becomes useless for all purposes. That is called as Vardhakya. Vardhakya dekho na upaya vihina. That's how Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays. Of course, this is his, the out of humility is praying like this. But Vardhakya is upaya vihina, right? And therefore, there is a Vedic training, and Srila Prabhupada explains the Vedic training of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. How in the Brahmacharya life, one is controlling one's senses. Brahmachari Gurukule, Vasan Danto Gurur Hitam, Acharati Dasavan Nito, Nicho, Gurur Sudhrul Sauhridam. That Brahmachari Gurukule, Vasan, he will reside at Gurukul. Danto, control senses and act under the instructions of Guru, Gurur Hitam. Acharati Dasavat Nicho. He will himself engage as a menial servant doing various activities, and this is how later he will be married, and then he will eventually go ahead have the married life, have children, and then eventually go ahead with Vanaprastha and Sannyas. So this is the regular system of Varnashram. And Prabhupada says, especially in the human form of life, one has to take to God realization. Vanaprastha, then it is said that the wife will come back home, and very important point here, and remain aloof from family affairs. Okay, this is very important. So in this case, in Kali Yuga, both husband and wife will come back home. They will stay with their children, or in the best case, near children. I mean, a lot of counseling that I have seen between with children. The of course it depends on the family types also. Marwadi Jain families, they are used to very joint families. Recently, I was in Bangalore and I was discussing with few devotees, and I was surprised that even Bangalore has many joint families. So one family, it was like 40 members together, 40. Previously, I used to think only Jain Marwadi families are like this, but some Shri Vaishnava families are also big giant families, joint families. So, and remain aloof from the family affairs. So this is very important that husband and wife should hand over, not just verbally, but really even the control wise also. Because the human life is meant for God realization. And especially at the fag end of one's life, one should accept these principles very seriously. Okay, earlier the better, but at least in the old age, it has to be accepted very seriously. Text 4. तयोपभुज्यमाना वै यवना सर्वतो दिशं द्वारभिः प्रविश्य सुभृशं प्रार्थयन् सकलां पुरीम्. Translation.
When Kalkanya, daughter of time, attacked the body, the dangerous soldiers of the king of the Yavanas entered the city through different gates. They began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. But the body has 9 gates: the 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, mouth, rectum, and genitals. When one is harassed by the invalidity of the old age, various diseases manifest at the gates of the body. For example, the eyes become so dim that one requires spectacles, and the ears become too weak to hear directly, and therefore one requires hearing aids. The nostrils are blocked by mucus, and one has to always snip a medicinal bottle containing ammonia. Similarly, the mouth, too weak to chew, requires false teeth. The rectum also gives one trouble, and the evacuation process becomes difficult. Sometimes one has to take enemas and sometimes use a surgical nozzle to accelerate the passing of urine. In this way, the city of Puranjana was attacked at various gates by the soldiers. Thus, in old age, all the gates of the body are blocked by so many diseases, and one has to take help from so many medicines and surgical appliances.
Yeah. So the Kalakanya, along with the dangerous soldiers, so here dangerous soldiers are the diseases of they entered the city through different gates, right? Because it is Puranjan, Navadware, Pure Dehi. The Pura was attacked through Dwara, and they began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the body is called as Navadwari Pure because it is the 9 gates. And in the old age, basically, all these gates will undergo suffering and diminished potency. Eyes will diminish, and there will be so many operations are required. Ears will diminish, and therefore hearing aids are required. And generally, when the hearing is hampered, automatically relations also hamper, right? Because one is not able to speak properly, one is not able to hear properly. You have to speak loudly, and all these things happen. Srila Prabhupada writes similarly, mouth also goes ahead, and we have to go and have a false teeth. Similarly, we have to have the problem in passing stool and urine. Similarly, there is a mucus, and thus all the gates, they are very severely subjected to various attacks of these soldiers of Kalakanya. A good take-home point here is, therefore, one has to do good yoga and pranayam. Day before yesterday, I was with His Grace, the Totla family in Bangalore. And Anand Prabhu's father, he is 86 years old. And, and quite distinctly, there is of course, I am aware that he is hearing and Mataji is also hearing this. Distinctly, he is touchwood healthier than what a 86-year-old personality should be. And I was asking him, and he was giving great importance to pranayam. He does Anulom Vilom literally 45 minutes every day. And he said that Prabhuji, since this I have started in last 4 or 5 years, it is like revitality. Of course, a devotee also wants the vital body. Why? Because he wants to serve the Supreme Lord, not for Viagra kind of a invigorating the senses to enjoy the sense gratification. But body has to be as clear and as vital as possible. And that is a big service because through this body only we can perform service. So yoga pranayam is something which is very, very important. Yoga means yogasana and the pranayam. Also, last many days, I was contemplating on because I was supposed to give one health class on 21st June. And when I was conducting some research for that, they said, I came across this, that after 40, every decade you lose almost like 5 to 7% of the muscle mass. So after 40, if you do not build your or maintain your muscles, then the invalidity very quickly creeps in, and therefore we have to work on that as well. And I read a very beautiful statement around this. So the statement was like this, that the cardio will add years to your life and strength training will add life to your years. Life to your years. Yeah, YERS. So it has to be a very good combination of cardio and strength training and yoga and pranayam both. So, and then we can have a slightly better, fitter, the Navadvare Pure Dehi, and so that this body can be engaged in the service of the Lord. Text 5. Tasyam prapidyamanayam abhimani puranjanah avapo ruvidhan stapan kutumbi mamata kulah. Translation.
When the city was thus endangered by the soldiers and Kalakanya, King Puranjana, being overly absorbed in affection for his family, was placed in difficulty by the attack of Yavana Raja and Kalakanya. Purport. When we refer to the body, we include the external gross body, which is with its various limbs, as well as the mind, intelligence, and ego. In old age, these all become weak when they are attacked by different diseases. The proprietor of the body, the living soul, becomes very sad at not being able to use the field of activities properly. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that the living entity is the proprietor of this body, Kshetragya, and that body is the field of activities, Kshetra. When a field is overgrown with thorns and weeds, it becomes very difficult for the owner to work it. That is the position of the spirit soul when the body itself becomes a burden due to disease. Extra burdens are placed on the body in the form of anxiety and general deterioration of the bodily functions. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when the city was thus endangered by the soldiers and Kalakanya and Puranjan and Prajwar, all these people were attacking the city, Puranjan himself was busy, Kutumbi Mamata Kuda, that he was busy, he was overly absorbed in the affection for his family. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, when we refer to body, generally we refer to the external gross body and its various limbs and also the subtle body. So these are the three combinations, right? So gross body and subtle body, including the senses, which are manifestation of the gross body. And all this becomes weak in the old age. And the soul is called as a kshetrajna, and he is conducting his activities in the kshetra of the body, right? And when the field is just overgrown with various thorns and weeds, it becomes difficult for the owner to work it. Similarly, when the body is thus overwhelmed by diseases, then it becomes very difficult. And then extra burden is there in the form of anxiety, and therefore a person has undergoes a tremendous suffering in this condition. Text 6. कण्योपगूढो नष्टश्री कृपणो विषयात्मकः नष्टप्रज्ञो हतैर्ष्यरिष्वो गन्धर्व यवनैर्बलात्. Translation.
When King Puranjana was embraced by Kalakanya, he gradually lost all his beauty. Having been too much addicted to sensual life, he became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Being bereft of all possessions, he was conquered forcibly by the Gandharvas and Yavanas. Purport: when a person is attacked by the invalidity of old age and is still addicted to sense gratification, he gradually loses all his personal beauty, intelligence, and good possessions. He thus cannot resist the forceful attack of the daughter of the time.
Yeah. So here Puranjan was embraced by Kalakanya, that is Jara, and thus he gradually lost all his beauty. Right? So beauty fades away eventually. That, what to speak of white teeth, only teeth only will not remain. So he was too attracted to sense gratification and became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Opulence is the bodily beauty. And thus he was forcibly conquered by the Gandharvas and the Yavana. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, when a person is attacked by the invalidity of old age and still addicted to sense gratification, he gradually loses all his personal beauty, intelligence, and good possessions. And this is the danger of time, that is Kalakanya. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Gaurav Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu Danustana, a small question.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Prabhu, you were saying that we have to do pranayam, and you were saying two things actually, strength and cardio, something like you were saying.
Yeah. So the best cardio is to walk.
Okay.
Even
Yeah.
better than running is walking, because there is no injury, and walking is considered the direct exercise to the heart, which is the muscle, which can be exercised only through legs. So, there is a very good app. I'm very strong propagator of this app, Google Fit. Okay. So it's Android app. I think it is iPhone also. And nowadays many apps are there, but I generally recommend this Google Fit because everybody has Google and it's free. And most of the people have Android phone. So there you can count the number of steps, and there's something called as heart points. Heart points is, if in 1 minute you can, when you walk briskly 100 steps, then that is considered heart point. So the best thing to do is, just walk 2 rounds in the morning, chant, and walk and chant 2 rounds in the evening. That will take care of almost 40 minutes of walking. Because when you walk, your chanting speed will also slow down. From 7 minutes, it will become 10 minutes. And yeah, so this is something good. I generally hit 20 minutes a day on an average. And
Is it
6,000
100
steps.
steps in 1 minute, Prabhu? You are saying something like
100 steps in 1 minute is called as brisk walking. And that is called as heart point. So if you go to this Google app, they will say heart point also is calculated separately. And what is recommended according to WHO is 150 heart points per week. Approximately comes to 20 heart points per day, 2021. And at least 5,000 steps, bare minimum. But one can go hit 6,000, 7,000 steps per day. Right. So this takes care of cardio. Yogasana, especially Surya Namaskar, is such a all-encompassing. It takes care of flexibility. It takes care of strength training as well. But then there are some other people who say that one is required to go and do the weightlifting kind of a gym kind of a thing. So there are two thoughts on that, but no distinction between walking, Surya Namaskar, pranayam, and gym is optional. Okay, gym or strength training in the house is optional. But any three of these four, at least the first three, where you don't need any equipment or anything like that. So it is important.
Any time
Generally, I
limit?
do
I mean,
only
like how
walking.
many? Sorry, go ahead.
20 minutes of walking is good. 40 is best. Surya Namaskar again, 11 is good. 21 is best. And breathing, 15 minutes of breathing is very good. And there are people who do, just like I was quoting Anand Prabhu's father. So in that case, it is like he does for 45 minutes and everything else. His son, means Anand Prabhu's elder son, is Kiran Prabhu. Kiran. He does Shirshasana also. But I mean, I don't recommend all that. He does it for 45 minutes of Shirshasana. So, okay, it is beyond me. But these three are good enough. And which pranayam? Anulom Vilom is considered as the king of all pranayams. Otherwise, one can do whatever one likes. But Anulom Vilom is considered to be very good pranayam. Right?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I don't do everything. I do only walking. So please bless me that I will also do other two. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was
Hare
asking.
Krishna.
Actually, I only do walking. That too.
Yeah,
I
walking
never
is
count, but
natural for devotees. No, but it is important to count. See, when we count, anything we want to improve, we have to measure it. That is the first principle of management. Whatever you count improves. So I always tell this to our Yogeshwar Gopal Prabhu that whatever we count improves. So when we start counting anything, counting Sankhya Purvaka Namagana. So this is the basic principle of counting that. It will improve. So counting is essential.
good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Master. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, then what is the hope of old age? We are losing our senses and muscles, so we are depending for young children. So, how to go ahead? How to do our regular practice for spiritual way? Because the body
Yeah.
supported for us.
Yeah, right. It is that is the condition. Of course, this is now very graphically spoken to make Prachina Barhishat retire. But that doesn't mean that devotees don't grow old and devotees don't stay home, right? Even great personality like Prahlad Maharaj, he stayed home only. He never took Vanaprastha or sannyas because, of course, he had another reason. He knew that his grandson Bali is going to invite another great personality, another the supreme personality incarnation, that is Vamana Dev. But he stayed home. Correct. So it is not that we will hardly any one of us will take Vanaprastha or sannyas. But hope is ultimate hope is the holy name. Ultimate hope is the Srimad Bhagavatam. What we are doing in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is ultimate hope. And other hope is we have to keep as fit as possible ourselves. And second is we should not get emotionally drained by all this saas bahu ka jagda, bachon ke saath jagda, putting our head into everything, chinta grasta, taking on chinta or getting distracted. One should not get distracted. This is another issue nowadays. People just get lost in YouTube, Facebook, forwarding this and that. So many old people get lost into that distraction. Or some senses should not overcome us, कि 6 घंटा TV देखना. And sometimes people just keep on eating, that. Neither, their kids cannot tell them also, कि, Baba, don't eat so much. They will say, I have a pension, I will eat. Who are you to tell me not to eat? Or something like that. But they are not able to digest, and the whole thing comes up. So life is simple as such. We have hope in holy name, Srimad Bhagavatam, association of devotees. right?
Yes,
Beautiful
Prabhuji.
deities in the temple, going to dham time to time. And we have to keep bodily fit by whatever yoga, how much, whatever, things we can do. And we have to get mental energy free and fit by not picking up quarrels, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
By
Yes.
letting go. The granddaughter is going to behave as normal Gen Z is going to behave. We should not fret around ki, her dress is too scanty and this and that. We have no control over people. So we should realize that we are letting go the control. Or anyway, at the Salm ke baad, if devotee should live for 100 years. But whenever we pass away, then what control we have anyway on anyone? Barabar hai na?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
So better to remain, in good terms with people. Better to remain approachable, so that people, when at all they should be able to feel free to approach us. That is the point.
Very
Correct?
true, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dandavats.